Pro Football Playbook, presented by the Pigskin Podcast Network. Your source for team news, draft needs, player profiles and rankings, full Senior Bowl, Combine, and NFL draft coverage. News, analysis, discussion. It's in the playbook. Now, here is your host, sports journalist Bill Alvstad, and featured analyst Keith Myers. Welcome into the Pro Football Playbook Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with Keith Myers. We're doing mock draft 3.0 post, well, not exactly post free agency, but post first week of free agency. The first wave is kind of done and things are settled, at least at the top end of free agency. And now we're here to take a look and see if there's any adjustments, what teams are looking at, just have a little bit of fun, plug some players into some spots that we think might be good fits. Hey, Keith, welcome in, man.
Yeah, so this, you're like, oh, see if there's any adjustments. There's been some huge adjustments. There's been
That's true, right?
There's been trades of franchise quarterbacks. One, and then but definitely some movement on the quarterback market. No, there's been two. Yeah, because Deshaun Watson is now moved on to Cleveland, and
yeah, that might be the biggest one to change team outlooks at quarterback. We can talk about Seattle a little bit with Russell Wilson now gone to Denver. That was a huge trade and a lot of ramifications there followed in Seattle, but we're not sure exactly if they're on to the quarterbacks in this draft class. They're going to maybe allow one to drop to them in the second round where they've got two picks, or if they're just going to skip it all together and try to solve it here in the next couple of weeks, maybe even Baker Mayfield to Seattle. So there's just a lot of interesting things going on. This has been one of truly the most interesting offseason quarterback movements around, and most of it has come in trades.
Yeah. The last time we had, franchise quarterbacks of this caliber moving was when Peyton Manning left Indianapolis. But that happened because Indy was there sitting there with the first overall pick, ready to draft Andrew Luck. So, it's an interesting position to be in with all of these quarterbacks moving.
So just like last time we did this, we're going to do a live screen mock draft simulator using the NFL mock draft database website, who we are affiliated with. Our podcast is shared on their website on page 2, if you will, or the podcast page. If you go to the quick links at the top of their page, you can find podcast. You click that and you will find our show, both the audio podcast version and the YouTube version. And if you don't know that already, make sure you subscribe to that. So you ready to get started, Keith?
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to share my
So while you're doing that,
simulation screen.
I'll kind of throw up some of the rules for the people who are listening. Bill and I go back and forth. So I'll take the odd picks and he'll take the even ones. And we
that
just
means
try
you
and
have
roll.
the first pick.
It's true.
That is true.
We got to give the odd picks to the odd one of the group. So I will be. I'll be picking for Jacksonville straight up as soon as Bill's got the thing shared.
All right.
And then we will, we'll just keep moving. The goal here is for us to get through 2 rounds, and we're going to do it fairly quickly. So if you're expecting a lot of discussion on each pick, well, you're going to have to wait till another show, because this one we're just going to try and go through and see how the draft kind of shakes down. So
when you land on the mock draft simulator website, this is what you get. We've selected all teams, but you can go to your individual team and select that. You've got the draft year 2022. Obviously, we did seven rounds. I'm going to click to 2, and we're going to go ahead and just do the standard speed since we're using every pick, realistic and strict as far as what type of draft. And if we were trading, we're not going to be trading today. That just gets too complicated. Maybe we'll do one of those at another time. And we'll go ahead and get started. Now we'll go to the actual simulator. And let me get back up to the top here. Jacksonville's on the clock. You've got all the picks and players available. Go ahead, Keith.
All right. So there's been a lot of talk about Aiden Hutchinson going to Jacksonville. I personally think they build around their young quarterback, and so Evan Neal fills a need best, and in my opinion, the best player in the draft. So Evan Neal to Jacksonville.
Wow, I've heard actually some talk recently that Evan Neal's been not dropping per se, but being looked at as the teams at the top just aren't quite there with him and looking to fill out their rosters with other players. And so I'm just hearing that. And so that'll be interesting if he goes up one. It wouldn't surprise me. He's worthy of that. But
I mean, the way I see it is it's a lying season, and so I don't trust any of those reports right now.
Yeah,
we're getting too close to draft day. My guess is that is being flown around by someone like the Giants, who are hoping that he falls.
It's possible. I'm going to give you another shocker of a pick right here with the Lions. The Lions have been enamored since the Senior Bowl with Malik Willis, I understand. Mm-hmm. And they've decided to go ahead and get this quarterback in this year's draft and select Malik Willis at number 2 overall.
That's crazy. That's
going to disrupt this next 10 picks, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I figured I'd throw a monkey wrench in this thing right away.
That's going to screw with everything. And I know I said we were going to move along pretty quick, but that's crazy because now you're sitting here with all of these defensive players that are expected to go at the top still available.
So I'm not kidding about the Malik Willis thing to the Lions. Word has it, both. Oh gosh, there's a couple of guys out there that are saying this out loud, that Malik Willis is highly thought of in the Lions facility, and they're realistically looking at making this pick. So that's just it. And that would throw this thing way off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So now you get down to Houston, and Houston's rebuilding. They need players. And honestly, Aiden Hutchinson drops to them. They take him. That one's easy.
Yeah, because now Malik Willis is off the clock. Houston's, I think, building around their quarterback from last year, David Mills, and Aiden Hutchinson makes great sense for them. All right, Jets on the clock. Wow. Jets are going to need an offensive tackle in this draft, and they're going to choose the best one available, I believe. Charles Cross is still there. Ekwonu is there, and that's their favored pick anyway. So it's going to be Ekwonu here, and they've got a pick later on at 10. We'll see what they do.
Yeah, so the Giants could go in a lot of different directions. They need a quarterback. They need weapons, but it's pretty much all defensive players on the board until you get down to Garrett Wilson. I don't think they go that route. So I think they go defense, and I think they go defensive secondary. So I'm going to go Ahmed Gardner out of Cincinnati to the Giants.
Wow. Not a bad pick. None of these picks in the early part of this draft are going to be bad.
There's only good players going right now.
All right,
maybe Malik Willis. That's the wild card.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. In this list remaining there on the right on the screen, Kayvon Thibodeau seems to be the guy that's falling right now after his performance at the combine. It wasn't so much the physical attributes; it's what's going on upstairs with him. Teams are unsure, I think, a little bit, but the talent is still there. If teams have done their due diligence and he's still their guy, I think most teams would be comfortable drafting him in the top 10. Obviously, he was number 1 or number 2 pick overall just this entire offseason until just recently. So all of this may even be a smokescreen. Who knows? Panthers is an interesting pick for them. They need weapons. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson here on offense, first wide receiver off the board.
All right. So the Giants back on the clock, having just taken a corner. Now they're looking at, do they go offense here? The Charles Cross makes a ton of sense for them, getting an offensive lineman. So let's go there.
All right, the Falcons, man, they almost dealt their quarterback in this Watson situation. Obviously, they are looking young, but there are no quarterbacks at this point in the draft unless you're going to go up and get Kenny Pickett. That's exactly what they do. Another surprise pick at quarterback.
Wow.
I'm giving him Kenny Pickett. He doesn't want to. I don't think he's warranted that high, but I'm thinking the Falcons are pretty desperate at this point to get a young guy in there.
Wow, this draft has dropped very odd for Seattle. And then, we've got guys like Kayvon Thibodeau and Kyle Hamilton.
And Trayvon Walker, who's really rising right now.
All these guys that are no one expected to be available at 9. I don't even know where to go with this. This is such an odd position to be in. This draft is falling.
I'll give you some more players. You got Trevor Penning there. Okay.
I don't need. Yeah, that's not necessary. So Pete Carroll's talking about building her own defense and a running game. They go get Kayvon Thibodeau. They'll go get the guy that was. His tape is probably the best defensive player in the draft. Even if he's. They're wondering about motivation and all that kind of stuff. They can't let him drop any further.
Well, the Jets are smiling all the way to the podium right now because Kyle Hamilton, the best overall, I think, athletic player in this draft, is sitting there, dropped to 10 with them, and that's a perfect fit for them since free agency went in a different direction at safety position, and this is their selection. No questions asked.
Yeah, so the Washington football team, actually now known as the Washington Commanders, sitting here with, again, a lot of players available to them that I kind of expected to go earlier. They need help in a lot of different places. I think they go defense, Trayvon Walker, edge player.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, they could go offensive line as well. That's a big need for them.
But I just don't see an offensive line. We've kind of taken the offensive linemen who are in that range off the board already.
Yeah, they had lost Brandon Scherf in free agency to Jacksonville. Of course, Jacksonville signed everybody, in case anybody's not familiar. So Tyler Linderbaum would have been an interesting pick for them there. The Vikings defensive end, I think, is probably their number one need, and Jermaine Johnson just skyrocketed up the boards at the Senior Bowl and then confirmed everything at the Combine. Jermaine Johnson is their pick, and they are in love.
All right, so the Browns just traded for an elite quarterback, and
they don't have this pick, right? Or has this not changed yet? I'm not sure.
Or did this one go to Houston?
Yeah, right.
Oh, so we're dealing with
it may have went to Houston. I'm this is live right now. I'm just not sure if this thing has been adjusted yet.
I don't know.
I can't remember what the compensation package is. So, I know it's 3 firsts and etc.
Yeah. So are we doing this with this pick belonging to
let's think
Cleveland?
It's a Houston pick probably.
Okay, so if it's a Houston pick, then I think they I don't know. I was prepared for Cleveland. Let's say that Houston continues to build the talent on their defense. Let's go Derek Stingley Jr.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to try to help you there a little bit. That's exactly what they need there in Houston is a lockdown corner on one side. He's got extreme talent if he can be on the field.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's a good pick. Sorry about that for everybody getting a little confused with the Cleveland Browns still being on the clock there. All right, Baltimore Ravens. Good night. I know that the Eagles are hoping for Jordan Davis to fall here. David Ojabo tore his Achilles at his pro day, and that's just not good. I'm not exactly sure what happens to him. I'm hearing mixed reports as far as Ojabo falling at all. I think he has a timeline that puts him back in around September, October of 2022. So he is going to be available eventually, but losing an entire offseason is really tough for that position. A lot of teams feel like he may not have been completely ready anyway, other than just being a rotational guy. So I think he does fall just a little bit. Baltimore, interesting. They go edge here, but they go George Karlaftis.
Wow. See, George Karlaftis is a guy who's been falling. He was ranked, around 9 not that long ago. All right, the Eagles, they got their wish. Jordan Davis fell to them.
Yeah.
An absolutely incredible defensive line prospect. And
the run stuffing variety, but he's got so much athletic upside. He's almost surely going to disrupt the pocket as an NFL player at some point. So, and he's got tremendous work ethic. I mean, he's just a monster on the field. If you watch his tape, he's just one of those guys you're just in love with. So Jordan Davis, the Eagles back on the clock again right after that. I think they go offensive line here. Trevor Penning is a great pick for them. It's just a natural fit with 2 picks right back to back. They didn't have to worry about anybody coming up and stealing this. And so they're able to land their left tackle of the future.
God, that's a great draft for them to get those 2 guys.
Oh,
that's
I know.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that's exactly where they need it, in the trenches. I mean, and all Eagles fans will agree with that. They know exactly what they need, and these 2 picks lined up perfectly for them.
All right, so the Chargers are building up their defense because that was what let them down last year. And honestly, the best defensive player still on the board is a linebacker. I'm not sure they need a linebacker. I think they reach a little bit and go get a cornerback and Trent McDuffie out of Washington.
Interesting. Nice. I like it. Okay. I'm going to say, and quite honestly, and I'm going to talk a little ignorant here, I'm not exactly sure where they're sitting at center in this draft, but the interior line for the Saints needs a little bit of work. And they reinvest into their offensive line, build kind of for the future. If they're not able to get their quarterback this year, they're probably looking at kind of a 2-year run or 3-year run anyway. And so it's Tyler Linderbaum off the board.
Nice. So the Eagles back on the clock again. They've already got themselves a defensive tackle and an
You're going to go wide receiver here, aren't you?
And I am. And there's like all the top wide receivers for the most part have fallen.
At that. That's crazy.
Drake London, which I cannot believe is still on the board at 19, is going to the Eagles.
Yeah, people are sleeping on Drake London, but I'm telling you, he's going to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL in a couple of years. I mean, really, just a work ethic. I think the ankle injury that he had that shut his season down really kind of hurt his stock a little bit. I think he would have been a top 10 pick if not for that. And he's off the board. Pittsburgh, boy, I think Pittsburgh is an interesting case here. I think they have a little bit of time as a franchise here. This next couple of years, they're transitioning from their longtime quarterback in Roethlisberger. Everyone's expecting a little bit of an adjustment, so they have time on a player like David Ajabu to come in and be able to heal, be part of a rotation, and ready to go in 2023. It's a great value here, tremendous upside. This is the pick.
Yeah. So now we get down to the Patriots, and the Patriots are a team that is looking to build and get better from where they were last year. And honestly, they did enough offensively. Their defense fell apart, and that's not a Bill Belichick thing. So I think they go get the best defensive player available, and your mouse is going over there to get Devin Lloyd at linebacker, but that's not the player that I was going to pick. No,
I think they pushed it.
I think they go get Andrew Booth Jr., that cornerback out of Clemson, to because they lost a cornerback in free agency, and I think they go and fill that need.
I was a little surprised that you didn't go Kenyon Green here on the interior offensive line for them. I think Trent Brown might be moving along. Kenyon Green can offer some upside as a tackle prospect as well. Played tackle at Texas A&M. He could have been a placeholder maybe at right tackle there. Okay, so Andrew Booth, corner. That's a great pick. Andrew Booth's underrated. I think that he's a great pick there for them. Green Bay. Wow. This lines up for Green Bay, doesn't it, Keith?
Because they need a wide receiver badly.
A wide receiver, right?
Jokingly, I was going to suggest you draft a quarterback since Aaron Rodgers is aging.
Just to piss him off.
Just even more. Piss him off again.
Right?
They fixed all the stuff that was going on there. Let's just read to create that divide. No, go get him a wide receiver, please.
It's interesting because Green Bay's got a little bit of time here to make an adjustment with the wide receiver position in free agency before the draft, so they can kind of solve that going in. But logically speaking, they want a young player under contract for a while. That's a low cost option. There's a lot here, Keith. The question is, which one of these three is a good fit for their offense? Nathaniel Hackett went on to coach the Denver Broncos as their head coach. So they've got new blood in the offensive room there. Keith, help me out. Which one of you think the best route running wide receiver in this draft?
Yeah, I think he will get open, create separation, something that Aaron Rodgers can use. I think he's the best of the group.
And Aaron Rodgers does like to get the ball out. Yeah, get the ball out quick into space, and yeah, I agree.
So yeah,
but there's no Devontae Adams in this top end. I mean, Jameson Williams might be that eventually.
Not.
But the knee, we just don't know. Okay, yeah. That's a safe pick.
Yeah, and honestly, I think they do go figure out something at the wide receiver position between now and the draft, and I still think that if they do, they would take Chris Olave. Because they don't just need one weapon to replace Devontae Adams; they need two or three. Because the rest of that receiver room is pretty bare. Lazard, I think, is probably the best wide receiver on that team right now, and that's not a place they want to be. All right, so Arizona. Arizona is an interesting one because they could go in so many different directions. But what they found was that when Nuke Hopkins went down, their offense sputtered, and they also lost Christian Kirk to that mega deal. I think they go get a high upside wide receiver, and they're going to take Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I was hoping that you didn't say Treylon Burks because I just don't think that he fits that particular offense, and Treylon Burks still needs a little bit of time and work. This is a good pick for them. They also, they lost their main pass rusher guy too, so could have gone in that direction with Devontae Wyatt sitting there.
Yep.
Okay. This is a pretty easy one for me. Middle linebacker and edge for the Cowboys is, I think, their largest need, but Devin Lloyd's sitting there. I think one of the best players on the board remaining, and it's not really even close when I'm looking at this. Devontae Wyatt is rising up though, and would be an excellent pick for them in the NFC West. Not the NFC West, but in the East. Wow. I'm going to go in the middle for them because Devin Lloyd's just a really solid prospect, and it's going to solve a lot of problems for them.
So the Bills offense is stellar right now. Their defense was great last year, but I think it fell off, and ultimately at the end of the game, it was the defense that failed them, and the reason why they didn't make a Super Bowl. So I'm going to go defense for the Bills, and I'm actually going to reach a little bit. And I think. Wait, you just scrolled.
Scroll I know.
I'm like looking at players, and all of a sudden they're moving. I think they go cornerback, and they go Keir Elam out of Florida.
I like that pick, Keith. I do. I think that's a great pick for them because I think he's one of the best cover corners in this draft. Mm-hmm. And that's a good fit for them. I like that. Tennessee, interesting. Ooh, Tennessee likes to lean on their run game, but they also like to get the ball out too and take some shots once in a while. I'm going to go Treylon Burks here for them. Yeah, at 26.
Don't overthink that one. All right, 27. We've got Tampa, which suddenly is in a much different spot than they were because Tom Brady decided not to retire. And so they are gearing back up for another run at this. And I think they go out and get a defensive player that can help them right away, and that would be Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia.
Yeah, great pick. Green Bay, man, they're this far away, and they trade one player, and they're back in the draft twice this season. This is their native pick on the clock.
Desmond Ritter, he's sitting there.
I know, right?
You could piss
Matt
off
Corral. That would be even better for them.
You could piss off Rodgers.
You said that they needed 2 wide receivers, but I can't do it in this draft. I'm going to go Bernard Raymond for them.
Yeah,
as a guy that they invest in the trenches, and he's a good fit for their style.
Yep. No, when I say that they needed 2 receivers, it was one in free agency and one in the draft. I don't think they go 2. I don't think they go 2 first-round pick wide receivers. That's a little crazy. All right, we're down to the Dolphins at 29. They're in an interesting position in that they could go in a lot of different ways. They seem to be committed to Tua as their quarterback. And with that, I think that they work on protecting him. And my pick there for them is Zion Johnson out of Boston College. He's a guard prospect who looks really good. I think he can play center. I think that you can move him inside and he would be an elite center. But if that doesn't work, you still got a really good guard. So I would go Zion Johnson.
Nice. That probably would have been Kansas City's pick.
Is that who you're?
No. They got Creed. They got Creed Humphrey. I would say Kenyon Green here with the Chiefs to just add to that pile of offensive linemen there, and he's going to be a great pick. I think he's dropped a little bit more than I think he probably end up going slightly higher than this in the draft.
Yeah,
so that's a great value.
Putting Kenyon Green next to Humphrey gives them, a great interior for forever. I'm a little surprised you didn't go defense there because that defense is not great. The Bengals, speaking of defenses that aren't great, we know that the Bengals can move the ball. They need offensive linemen badly, but the last 2 picks did not go well for them. Their defense also is a struggle, and Nakobe Dean just keeps dropping. And I think they let him off the hook and pick up Nakobe Dean there at 31.
Nice. Okay. Wow. Here's the Lions. They got the Rams pick, Super Bowl pick here, number 32. Which way are they going to go? They already solved their Malik Willis equation at quarterback. Now I think they're going to pick up a weapon for him. This Jahan Dotson, Penn State, really nice, crafty, fast, quick guy here is going to be their pick. All right, second round, Keith.
That's round 2. All right, so the Jaguars are back on the clock. I think they go defense again, and safety Daxton Hill just makes a lot of sense for them.
All right, Lions back up again. Interesting. I'm going to go Kyler Gordon here for them at corner. It just makes a lot of sense.
All right,
Jets with a couple picks here, right?
Yeah, the Jets with a couple picks, then Seattle with a couple picks right in a row. It's a weird little spot here in the draft. So the Jets at 35 again. They could go almost anywhere. I think that they go and they just continue to build. Find the best player available, and that right now to me is Lewis Sine out of Georgia, safety.
Yeah, he's a riser in this draft, and rightly so. He's scheme diverse. He's a bigger guy at like 210 pounds, 6'1", 6'1.5", but he ran a 4.49 40 or something like that at the combine. Just a great mover. All right, Giants, you're up. You got your quarterback. You're not going to dive into this class at all. I think you're going to go corner here. Roger McCreary is a little bit more short-armed than some like, but that doesn't bother the Giants here on a great guy that's sticky and can play in the slot all day for them.
All right, so now we're back to the Houston Texans, and I think they go defense again. Logan Hall at 40 from Houston.
Wow,
he's just a guy that can come in, play the middle of that defense, and really give them an anchor right in the middle of that defensive line.
Yeah, 3-tech-ish kind of guy.
Yep.
Can slide outside. Yeah, good pick. All right. Jets again. You just gave them a safety. I'm going to give them a defensive lineman and DeMarvin Leal, a guy that can penetrate the pocket a little bit from the 3-tech spot.
All right, so now we're to the Bears. The Bears. They have got to build around their quarterback. I mean, that's pretty much what they're doing right now. They are they've got they're what they believe is a franchise quarterback for the first time in forever. I think they build around him. There's not a lot of offensive linemen that are good enough right now that are left there. So I think instead they get him a weapon, and George Pickens, the wide receiver out of Georgia, would be my pick for them.
Okay. Seahawks back to back. I think what's likely here is they're trying to take the best player available that maybe has fallen to them. And then on one of these picks, they're going to go probably reach for a guy like they always seem to do, get their guy maybe in a round early or whatever. So let's take a look at that. In this spot, it's interesting. We talked earlier about the first pick being a pick that they're going to pass on this quarterback class, but if one fell to them, they might take a look. And I think that's what they do here. I think they go Desmond Ritter. And the reason they go Desmond Ritter, I believe, is that Pete Carroll came out and said that he kind of wants a point guard, game manager type quarterback. I think Desmond Ritter's actually a really good fit for that type of an offensive scheme plan for him. Takes care of the ball. He's got enough of an arm where he can make all the throws. He's not going to be the huge deep ball thrower that Russell Wilson was for them, but he's going to take advantage of some other things and spread the ball out around the field and in the middle of the field better. And this is their pick. Now, go ahead, Keith. What are you going to do? You're going to go reach for somebody that's way down this list somewhere that we can't even see yet, or are you going to stick with the guys that you can focus on?
So they're in a weird spot. The Seahawks are in that, they are a team that wants to build around their defense and their running game. They need help at offensive tackle, but the only offensive tackle on the board is not a guy that I think they have on their draft board. I think he's not. So I think as a team that wants to build around their defense and running game, I'm gonna piss off some Seahawk fans and say that they're gonna go get Breece Hall, running back out of Iowa State, with this pick.
You will piss them off, but they'll only be pissed off for half a season.
Yep,
half an off season. Yeah.
Breece Hall is the best running back in this class. He's what this team looks for for their running backs. He kind of comes in and fixes a room that's been talented but very injured for the last few years, and they just got to get a new body in there.
And he ran a 4.39 40 at 217 pounds and 6'1". And he's thought of as being explosive outside zone kind of guy, but he can run between the tackles as well at that size. So he's a 3-down back for you. I think it's a good value at 41. It's not in the first round, Seahawk fans.
And Seahawks fans will still hate it.
They'll still hate it, but they'll love it in season, if he looks anything like Rashad Penny did in the last 5 or 6 games.
Yes, but if he looks anything like Rashad Penny did the previous 3.5 years, I will hear about it.
Yeah, head constantly. On platter, right? Yeah.
All right. The Colts are on the clock. What do you got?
Yeah. Bill? Oh my goodness, the Colts. They have a roster, but they don't have a quarterback that they are really in love with. And Colts fans are going to hate this, but Sam Howell makes a lot of sense for them in that it'd be nice for them just to kind of sit back, let this thing mature a little bit with Sam Howell, and maybe be ready to go next year. They can build a roster around it, see what happens with the rest of free agency and camp cuts and so forth to see if maybe they can get a really good guy in there to compete with Sam Howell. But Sam Howell may be able to be ready to go.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that pick for them just because they've got to find an answer there. and
Matt Corral could have been an option for them as well.
Yeah. And actually, Matt Corral is going to be my pick for the Atlanta Falcons at 43. They tried to deal for Deshaun Watson. That didn't happen. But that shows you that they are ready to get.
Hold on. Did I give him Kenny Pickett earlier? Let's go find out. I can't remember who I did. Yeah, I did. I gave him to Kenny Pickett.
All right, never mind.
I wanted to help you there because that would have been a tough one for fans to swallow.
That would have been terrible. All right, so I forgot that you gave him Pickett. This is one of the problems with doing this back and forth thing is that we lose some of that.
That means you're not paying attention to me, Keith. I'm offended.
Yeah, it's bound to happen. So if they've got their quarterback, I think that they go and they continue to work on building that defense. And Boy Mafe has dropped enough that I'm kind of surprised he's still on the board. So Boy Mafe, edge out of Minnesota to the Atlanta Falcons.
That's a great pick. At Cleveland here, they've got extra picks this year. It's a good time for them, I think, to invest in their offensive line.
Well, and they did have extra picks, and they traded everything.
You're right. That's true.
To Houston.
The thing is, they're still going to need to invest in their offensive line, and they've got a great, solid running game. They're a power sort of game. They're not a stretch zone finesse type team at all. And Daniel Falale makes a lot of sense for them in his style of play. 6'7.5", 380 pounds. That's on the light side. And he needs a little bit of time. He needs to get NFL strong, build some contact strength. But he's got a lot of upside. He's a ready-made blocker as far as the run game is concerned. And maybe that's what they're looking for on the right side there for Cleveland.
I kind of like that pick. So the Ravens are on the clock. They need, honestly, I believe they need and will be building around Jackson more. They need to get some more weapons. Last year, they could not keep a running back healthy for more than 15 seconds. And Kenneth Walker III, the running back from Michigan State, sitting there, that seems like a pretty easy pick for me.
That makes a lot of sense. And everyone's kind of diminishing on Kenneth Walker, and I think he's definitely one of the best running backs in this draft for sure.
Well, it was definitely a choice there between him and Isaiah Spiller, the guy out of Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. And I went with Walker. I just think that he's kind of it's a style issue as far as what they're going to ask him to do, and I think he's a better fit.
So Minnesota went defensive end, edge rusher in the first round. Kirk Cousins signed a 1-year deal, but it's a 1-year deal. It's an extension, and they're looking to the future. I'm giving him Matt Corral, Mississippi. He's a guy that's going to be able to sit back, take some time. If Cousins, happens to get injured, get a little bit of time this year, but this is a pick for the future for them.
Mm-hmm. All right. The Washington Commanders back on the clock. At this point, I think they are looking at, getting a little bit creative here. And I think they're going to go tight end Trey McBride, tight end out of Colorado State, just to come in, give them some diversity both in the pass game and as a blocker with the run game, and just make their offense a little more diverse.
All right. I'm going to go defensive line here for Chicago. Akeem Hicks is gone. Khalil Mack was traded. They need to invest in some young talent. Travis Jones is sitting there, big guy, space eater, kind of anchors the entire line for them.
I'm a little surprised you didn't go Drake Jackson at the edge at a USC for their just kind of to a guy to take that spot for where Khalil Mack left, but we're getting down here.
He's a different type. He's a different type of player, but yeah.
But I mean, just kind of the disruptor, the defensive end. Okay, so we're down in 49 with the Saints, who still are quarterbackless, but the quarterback market has not gone their way in this draft or this free agency. I think they continue to build their defense, knowing that they're going to have to win, in a defense and running game kind of way. And Perrion Winfrey, who is an absolute monster pass rusher on the interior, it has dropped to them. Not much of a run stuffer, but they've got big bodies. Perrion Winfrey is just great interior pass rusher. I think he'll fit in well there.
The nice thing about Perrion Winfrey is he's just really scheme diverse, and he's going to help almost any defense. And I think that's a great pick for them.
Mm-hmm.
Miami. Okay. Miami just is a no-brainer here for Drake Jackson because they need some edge help there. Pierre is basically gone. Drake Jackson is a good player, scheme diverse, can rush the passer, but he can also drop back into coverage. He's one of the best coverage edge players to play, the strong safety kind of role on 3-4 teams. On a 4-3, he can come up and be a guy that's playing that strong side. If he could build up a little bit of body weight, he's got the frame to do it. He's the guy.
All right. So can you let me see who the Eagles have already picked? Because they've had a number of selections that I already doubled up once.
Jordan Davis, Trevor Penning. So inside on the trenches, Drake Jackson at wide receiver.
All right. So that gives me some room to kind of look at different players that are around. I actually really like linebacker Quay Walker here, mainly just because of his speed and his ability to make plays all over the field. And they've already gone offense and defensive line. They've already gone wide receiver to help their quarterback. Now I think they just get better on defense. And Quay Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia, would be the pick there.
Nice. Pittsburgh, interesting. Pittsburgh, they like their safeties. Jalen Petrie rose up quite a bit at the Senior Bowl to prove that he was able to stick with some of the bigger wide receivers there. He's the guy.
All right. So now in Green Bay, I think they start to invest in some offensive line help in order to, keep Rodgers from being murdered. And he's dropped. And I see that Tyler Smith is listed above him on the consensus board here. But I still think Darian Kennard is the better player and a better fit for a pass-heavy team. So I think he goes to Green Bay here.
All right. New England. Christian Watson is a playmaker for them and a guy that's really going to compete right away for some playing time. He's going to end up probably being their best wide receiver. Who was their guy, for years and years that played there underneath for Tom Brady and just made catch after catch after catch?
Wes Welker.
Yeah, Wes Welker. This is a taller, bigger version of that. Very quick, shifty, but he's still got great size. So he's very scheme diverse, can play almost any wide receiver position for them.
All right, so now we get down to the Cardinals at 55. I think they go offensive line, and with Tyler Smith dropping a little bit because of the Denard pickup a couple earlier, Tyler Smith is a good pick for them.
Yeah, Cardinal fans aren't going to like you for that, but that's their best available pick because, as we know, Kyler Murray needs a little bit of help, and anytime they invest in the offensive line there, it's a good thing. That's been their weakness.
Why do you think
for a long time?
Why do you think they're not going to like me for that pick?
Because I think that they like splash players for Kyler Murray, not trench players, and I just they just haven't known what they haven't known. They've had him running around for his life, but if they had real protection, I think they'd see that the weapons they do have would be more effective.
And we got him a weapon earlier. So
yeah.
Cowboys.
I got them a linebacker earlier, and I think they go Ezekiel Elliott needs has had some wear and tear on the tires, and they just want a rotation piece that they can add for the future. Isaiah Spiller is their pick.
That's a Ezekiel Elliott hits the open market a year from now. Kind of pick.
It might be, but you know what?
With that
Ezekiel
contract,
it's going to be expensive.
Well, with that contract he's already got, it would be a huge advantage for them to find a replacement and let him go. So that way they have, just better better diversity on the roster in terms of being able to use that cap space and not on a running back. As long they just got a great one. You just gave them a good one. So now we're back to the Bills. The Bills have been investing in their defense or previous, 2 picks that we've given them. So I think that in this particular case, they're going to go back to their offense and try and help things out. And the guy that I've got my eye on there is actually a tight end, Jalen Weidermeyer, who is a very complete tight end. Maybe not the down the field threat that some of the other guys are, but a good complete tight end who can do all the little things and block and set up the run game and all those things.
Now, for folks watching this that may be exposed to other draft mock simulators and stuff, you see Jalen Weidermeyer, down into the hundreds sometimes and so forth. The way that this mock draft simulator works, it's a consensus big board they're drawing from. So all the mock drafts contributed from all of the sites out there are aggregated into the proper order. This is not perfect, but it does kind of give you an idea of what everyone is thinking, not just that particular big board's author. And so I think that's a good value there. Mm-hmm. Atlanta, interesting. It's hard for me because their quarterback's kind of aging. And
you gave them a quarterback?
I gave them a quarterback, and so their weapons are less effective, because Matt Ryan's arm, it's just not what it used to be, and so forth. I would try to get them something with some upside here, but there's really not much on the board except for John Mechie, and that might be a guy that they would look at. But Skye Moore is actually a player that they are very intrigued with, I'm hearing. And he's just got tremendous upside as far as being an inside slot guy and gives you some scheme diversity as well.
That is a great name for a wide receiver, Skye Moore.
Yeah.
Throw it up there and let Skye Moore go get it. Right.
Yeah, right.
All right. Back to the Packers.
I don't like the Packers right now. How many picks have they had already?
They've had too many.
Seems like it.
But so they have they've invested in their offensive line in this draft. They've invested at wide receiver in this draft. I think they've got to go defense. And there's a lot of good defensive players there. But Jaquan Brisker at safety, just to give them more help in the defensive secondary. I think this is a solid pick for them.
Nice. I can't remember every pick that Tampa's made. I'm going to go back and look.
They've only made one.
Yeah, I know. Devontae Wyatt. Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm going to go weapon then for them. We know what happened with their wide receiver last year, and I think I'm gonna give them another guy, John Mechie. Might need some time. Could be definitely ready for training camp. Not sure what his timeline is right now, but
all right,
but that's a solid pick for them.
San Francisco is on the clock. They for the first time, and they have they're probably moving into a new quarterback era. And they lost the right tackle. So I think it's a fairly safe pick for them to go Nicholas Petit-Frere out of Ohio State.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, look at Christian Harris. I think that's going to be the pick. That's just the best value at this stage of the game for Kansas City.
And they need defense.
Already a built team. They do need defense. This pick's hanging for them. They're really happy about it, actually, because he comes right in and starts. That's a good pick for them.
And then now we're down to pick 63, the second to last pick in the draft. So it is the Bengals. They could go pretty much anywhere here. I think they just go in and take the best defensive player available, and people aren't going to like this because of the position and the school, but Chad Muma, the linebacker out of Wyoming, is just a tackling machine and will make a ton of plays defensively for them.
And he looked really good at the Senior Bowl too.
Yeah, he did. So I think that's the pick.
Denver Broncos. So they lost their edge last year. They've got a new quarterback. They've got all the offensive weapons. I think that they think that to surround them. They want to solidify that defense, though. Randy Gregory came over in the snafu from the Cowboys in free agency, but they could still use another guy. Beckety is the guy. He's just the best value on the board, and they go up and get him, so nobody else does. And that makes the AFC West, with all their edge players, just tremendous. I mean, talk about
scarier and
talk
scarier.
about a division. All right, so that's the draft. I'll scroll slowly. Evan Neal at the top. Surprises at the quarterback position. I did that. Sorry.
Yep. Kayvon Thibodeau dropping all the way to 9 to Seattle. That was unexpected.
I don't know if that's going to surprise me or not. I'm just hearing that teams are really not happy with the way he conducted himself at the combine. So we'll see what happens there. Individual meetings with him for teams and workouts are going to be really important for Kayvon. Yeah. Jermaine Johnson is tremendous value. Trayvon Walker there. He's a riser. He started, when we started doing mock drafts, he was in the 20s. He's been rising up the boards, especially after the combine.
Eagles are going to love that trio that we gave them in the round 1. Yeah. Jordan Davis, the best defensive tackle. Trevor Penning, the number 2 offensive tackle, but he's just got such a good work ethic and mean streak to him. He's going to be fun. And then Drake London, a very underrated, fantastic wide receiver. That's just such a solid group of
they definitely win this draft with that many picks. Green Bay didn't do too bad either, and they're already set, so that could push them into being the favorites out of the NFC again. Chris
Olave at wide receiver, followed by Bernard Raymond at offensive tackle. And then they had another pick in round 2. Darian Kennard.
Yeah.
Oh, they had 2 more. And then Jaquan Brisker.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of talent added to a team that's already talented, even with the wide receiver being shipped out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fun.
So Seattle getting Kayvon Thibodeau, and then coming back with Desmond Ritter and Breece Hall. That's going to be interesting because that's going to reshape their offense going forward. No more Russell Wilson. Instead, now they're going with Desmond Ritter, who's a completely different style quarterback.
Yes.
A guy who's not going to connect on all the big plays down the field because that's not.
So what if you made that pick for the Seahawks, Ritter, what happens in DK Metcalf's mind, where he's basically a stretch the field guy, catch the ball down the field, make plays after contact, all that kind of stuff. Now you've got Desmond Ritter getting him the ball. Pete's going to convince him that it's going to be a more efficient offense. So he's going to have more opportunities in space.
Yep. Well, the other thing is that you're going to use his speed not just down the field, but you're going to use him in crossing routes coming across the field. And so he's going to be, 15 yards downfield running across in front of safeties, getting the ball with an opportunity to run after the catch rather than, 40 yards downfield behind the defense kind of stuff on every run, on every route. So I just think you're going to be able to convince him that he's going to get more catches, more run after the catch opportunity coming across the field and just going deep on every play.
Who's your favorite value pick in this draft?
Scroll back down. You're too high for value. Where I was going, I'm thinking a guy like maybe Christian Watson, wide receiver to the Patriots. That just seems like such a good fit, and they've had done such a poor job of drafting wide receivers that getting one that I like, that I think is going to be an actual one that makes that spot. Perrion Winfrey to the Saints is also a pick that that's going to make that defense real nice.
Yeah. Matt Corral for the Vikings, I think, might be something that's under the radar now, but 2 years from now could be looked at as one of the best picks in this draft, just because he's just such a fiery competitor. Teams are going to rally around him, fall in love with him. Fans will love him. He could be the future, and it's a different look for the Vikings. They've had these steady in the pocket quarterbacks for a long time, and this is a guy that's going to kind of push that envelope a little bit, give them some run pass option looks in their offense, and I think he kind of creates that little bit of an excitement that the Vikings have really wanted for a long time.
So who of all these picks are you looking back on now going, man, I wish we hadn't done that?
I'm thinking that the Tavon Thibodeau thing. If there's one player I'm concerned about in the top 15 players right now, it's Thibodeau. I just don't know. I don't have access to his interviews, but everything I've heard is he just bombed. He was kind of an arrogant guy, didn't want to put in the work, thinks that he can just win with his athleticism, and he's going to find out in the NFL that's not what it takes. He's going to need that work ethic, and I'm not sure that teams think he has the work ethic thing.
That's not his reputation at Oregon. His reputation at Oregon is a guy that was always in the gym, always putting in the work, always doing stuff.
So like I said, it could be a smokescreen thing. But are you hearing the same thing that I'm hearing, or you're not hearing this?
I am not hearing this, but I am also up in the Pacific Northwest around where he is. The coverage of him is going to be really positive just because he's an Oregon player and I'm up here.
Right.
So
that's why he's been dropping. I mean, he was up here with
Aiden Hutchinson,
and he was going to be the first or second guy off the board. And now after the combine, all of a sudden you're seeing him drop a little bit. And that was because of the combine. It just didn't go well for him. And so that would be one that I would watch. Obviously, the quarterback situation, I think both Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett have a chance to be successful in the NFL. They also have a chance to be career backups.
Yeah,
and
Kenny Pickett,
tough.
Kenny Pickett to Atlanta is kind of a cool pick because they've already got a quarterback with, who kind of does the same things well that Kenny Pickett does well. The intermediate passes, not a great deep ball thrower. More of a pocket passer kind of guy. I think that could work out really well because that is a team that knows how to win with that style of quarterback. The Lions pick of Malik Willis is that's unfortunate because the Lions are going to ruin a guy with really high upside but a really low floor, and he's going to end up seeing his floor a lot more clearly than he can ever see the ceiling because of the team that drafted him.
It's possible. That is possible, Keith.
So,
all right. I think we'll leave it there. It was a fun draft. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought I'd throw in a couple of wrenches there because I am actually hearing the Malik Willis to Detroit is a serious option. So I thought I'd put it out there and see what that kind of does to the board. So, it was interesting.
I hear that. And what I wonder is that Jacksonville trying to say, give us a bunch of picks for the first overall so we can move back and get, all three of the first rounders from Philly, so that Philly will move up into that spot to get their quarterback type of thing. That's what I hear when I hear Malik Willis to Detroit, because they need someone who's ready to go now. And Malik Willis isn't. He's a guy that needs development time.
And the source of this rumor, by the way, is Matt Miller. I'm just putting it out there. Yeah, and he's getting more and more connected as a follower. And if you're not following Matt Miller on Twitter, I suggest it. And so it does come from kind of a credible guy that's connected out there.
I'm not saying otherwise, but it all again.
It could be just a smoke screen, which is what happens this time of the year. This is the favorite time of the year to kind of put all that into play.
Yep. And the thing is that he might have as a guy like Miller, who is an up and coming name in the draft world, develops connections within front offices. The way those things happen is it's like, hey, I'll give you this piece of information. I'll leak this to you, but in return, I want. And there's a lot of these. There's a lot of these exchanges that happen. And if a team,
I'll give you more access if you. Right.
Yeah, and so that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. And so a guy like saying Malik Willis to Detroit, or that Kayvon Thibodeau is, had some bad interviews and is dropping. That could come from anyone, and it can come from, from one of those guys that, hey, we gave you this information during free agency. Here's what we need from you now. And it becomes an exchange of information from these reporters. And so that's where a lot of these, how lying season happens.
Yes. It's so fun. Is this not, to me, and I know we wouldn't exist without the actual games playing, but the strategy, the front office stuff, the evaluations, the combine, the intrigue, the trade markets, the draft itself, there's so many moving pieces of the puzzle. That's the part that I think that I'm just really in love with about the NFL and the whole package of the NFL. I love the games. I love watching the teams play. No question about it. But when it comes to the back end intrigue stuff, I dig that and have for a long time. So
yeah, this the chess match that is 32 teams creating rosters and because it's not just about getting the players. It's also there's contracts. There's draft capital, and there's all this other stuff. It's not just, because otherwise, people have well, they should have gone and gotten this one. Well, but they can't afford that player right now.
And it takes two parties to come together. It's not like teams can just go get the guy. Just go get the guy. No, that's not the way it works.
The player gets a choice on where they play. So
usually gets a choice. Yes. All right. Awesome. Good show. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You can find Keith on Twitter at Myers NFL. I'm at Alvstad NFL. The show is PF_Playbook. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms. Just search Pro Football Playbook Podcast, as well as on YouTube. Please subscribe and share it with everyone you know. So until next time, take care, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Pro Football Playbook Podcast. Follow Keith at Myers NFL. Bill is at Alvstad NFL. The show is at PF_Playbook. Listen and subscribe on your favorite podcast app or YouTube and at our website, profootballplaybook.co.